Hello, hello, hello. We're here again. What's in the news? Should we just do news? Yeah, just do news. Randy Andy news. Prince Andrew. Good old Prince Andrew. Well, the files from Virginia Giuffre, she made a deal with Epstein many years ago, and the sealed document was open in an attempt to save poor old Prince Andrew from any further embarrassment. I don't know if you know the story. Jeffrey Epstein, a bit of a dodgy character. Where did he get his millions from? Maxwell fell off his yacht. He's dead. I can say what I want. Had a penchant for young girls. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But anyway, many powerful people fell into his thrall. Bill Clinton, Andrew, Bill Gates, and there's been many fingers pointed at the many doings, and one of them, Virginia Giuffre, has accused Andrew of various deeds. You've got to be careful what you say, because ongoing case and that. But yeah, in order to preserve his good name, they unsealed the documents that Giuffre made with Epstein before he killed himself. And she got paid off. She was paid off $500,000. Paid off. Just think about that. She got paid off because that's how she saw her case. She saw her case as a payday. That was her justice, you know. That's what she saw. And again, if you believe in justice and you believe in bringing people down, maybe you don't sell your soul to the devil, but she did. And one of the conditions is that any person associated with Epstein couldn't be brought back after she'd inked the deal and taken the money. So it's breach of contract. Again, I think even though Epstein's dead, the contract still stands. And this is what they're going to be using to save Andrew. Now, the interesting thing about Andrew is everyone goes, he's a paedophile, he's a nonce and all this. He's not. He likes ladies, you know, ladies, not girls. And he's very well documented. Even when he was at Epstein's New York apartment, there was a string of, you know, older females being entertained by Andrew. And Giuffre herself was 17 at the time when these things were meant to happen, and that means over here she was street legal, and I think in New York she was street legal, and it's only on one of Epstein's tropical islands that she wasn't. So yeah, should be interesting to see if Andrew can escape this one, but it could be that he ends up losing all his military honours and whatnot. They're saying that he could be stripped. I mean, if it did ever go to court and it was ever found guilty, he could be stripped of his Duke of York title in order to preserve Her Majesty's royal family. God bless her. So yes, an interesting case. I find it absolutely fascinating, especially when people do, you know, take the coin, when they do sell themselves and afterwards have a change of heart. And she did. Now, I'm not saying what, you know, happened didn't happen to her. It did, and it was terrible. But it's that thing. If you want justice, you don't take the money. And she did. She profited out of her pain, I guess you could say. And again, you know, she really was at the centre of all this. She could have, you know, used her experience to help all those other women that were victimised by Epstein. But she didn't. She chose to take the money. And that's why she's never been called as a witness, because in court, that would have been brought up and it would have severely weakened the case. And again, with Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's been recently found guilty, they never brought her, the prosecution never brought her up as a witness because it would have severely harmed their case. And I think this is why Maxwell and her family thought she was going to get off, because, you know, a lot of it is like circumstantial, you know, evidence. You know, there's no like DNA or video, you know, footage. It's all she said. Not he said in this case, because he ain't there. But, you know, so yeah. And also Maxwell will be appealing, so it should be really interesting to see. Meanwhile, COVID news, the legendary Bogdanov Twins. I don't know if you're familiar with these fellas. They were French TV stars who I've got to bring up. I've got to bring up their pictures because it's there they are. Now there's been some debate whether they were addicted to plastic surgery or whether they had a craniofacial deformity that they share, but both of them died of COVID recently, within 6 weeks of each other. They were 72 twins, obviously, so share the same age, but neither of them were vaccinated. So, poor old Bogdanovs from France. They didn't make it. They fell. But there is rumours. The rumours are that COVID may have Omicron may have plateaued. Meanwhile, in France, there's a new variant, which we're going to call the French variant, which has 46 mutations. There you go. But it's spreading slowly. Again, you're going to see it weakening now once it's been through our combined immune systems and been battered by the vaccinations, which enables the authorities to track us. Remember that. A bit like your mobile phone or your credit card, or your Oyster card if you're in London. Go live in a tree. Wear a dress made of leaves. It's the only way you can escape the tracking. But yeah, it's been spotted. It's in Marseille. Linked to travel to Cameroon, apparently. But not looking as serious as... Who remembers Delta? Who remembers Delta when that was going to be the one that was going to wipe us all out? I miss the Delta days. What else have we got? Anything else? Anything else that's good? Should we just jump to the really important news? This is important. This is news from North Korea. Apparently, Kim Jong-Un invented the burrito in 2011. Yeah, it's true. There is a propaganda film that they've been putting out where I won't play it just in case of the old copyright, but we can look at the Daily Mail website. They've got some stills of it. This is where I get all my info. Daily Mail. Previously it was the Sun. I was looking at the Sun before. So Kim Jong-Un invented the burrito, or as he calls it, a wheat wrap, in Pyongyang. Oh no, that was the picture of the woman in Pyongyang sampling its wares of the Kim Jong-Un wheat wrap. Unfortunately, for most North Koreans, they're facing starvation and food shortages. So, yeah, the news is kind of fallen on deaf ears over there. So that's a bit sad, isn't it? Meanwhile, in the world of business, Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos, which was a blood testing thing, there's been many documentaries about her and the fact that she, was it fraud to the tune of $9 billion? The idea, let's just bring up a picture of her, because you can see why she managed to con all these gullible men. We've got the fancy picture of her. There must be I can't find. Here we go. This is Elizabeth Holmes. You can see why she managed to con all these men out of their money. Attractive blonde turns up, one in May. But the idea is her company were going to produce a blood testing device that could test for everything from a single drop of blood. It sounded amazing, and I'm sure one day the technology will happen. But Theranos turned out to be a massive con trick. The technology at her company didn't exist. And she's been found guilty of, there was 20 charges, and I think she was found guilty of 9 of them. She started Theranos in 2003. She was a Stanford University dropout. And $9 billion out the door. So it should be interesting to see what kind of sentence she gets, you know. But yeah, Rupert Murdoch, Henry Kissinger were just a couple of the investors that were taken. Murdoch sunk 125 million into the company, and a former education secretary was defrauded out of 100 million. So yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And there's been, like I said, a number of documentaries made. I think Netflix did one out. Meanwhile, J.K. Rowling has been cancelled again. Problem with J.K. Rowling is she's there's this weird thing called biology. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. I think it's called a science. Well, biology is wonderful, but there's some people that don't believe in biology. They believe that you can change sex just by calling yourself this. Because I'm a woman now. It's true. I'm a woman. If I say I'm a woman, you've got to call me a woman, because that's the weird world we live in. And J.K. Rowling, quite rightly, and many women are saying, hold up, you're hijacking the female experience. This isn't fair. We've fought for these rights. We've fought for, to vote. I mean, they've only had the vote, was it 100 years? They've only been allowed to come into the pub like the last few years, haven't they? Because they had to go to they had to go in the saloon bar rather than the public bar. Who remembers the glory days of the public and the saloon bar? I used to go in the saloon bar because it was quiet. The toilets were always cleaner. Public bar, whew, that's where all the men used to go, and all women into the saloon with you. Well, anyway, yeah. So this school in Chelmsford, Boswell's School, they have various house names. Every I don't know if do you have house names around the world? But and they had Rowling as one of their house names, but they've dumped it for Dame Kelly Holmes's name instead, because requests from students and staff. Because remember, words of violence, folks. Words of violence. And poor old JK, she's been cancelled again. Really interesting is Guardian held their Person of the Year thing at the Guardian's newspaper, and everyone voted for J.K. Rowling. I know I did, but suddenly they turned it into something else. There was no Person of the Year. They just kind of made it a more general thing. They had to kind of backtrack because it would have been embarrassing for them. Silly old Guardian. Silly old Guardian. Remember, live as you please, but just make sure that your rights don't suddenly infringe on somebody else's rights. That's the issue here. That's the issue. And if you say you're something, that doesn't mean you're something. I mean, if I suddenly put on a white shirt and say I'm a pilot, does that give me the right to go and fly a plane? Imagine that. Just imagine if we could all just decree what we are. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah. I think we've done enough today. I think the really important one is the Kim Jong-Un story about the burrito. Very important story, that. I think that's the top one. But yeah, so this is it. This is the future. Now, don't worry, there will be some more. I'm going to do some separate videos after this because I've got some other things I want to talk about, which aren't coffee time. I think they deserve their own video. But thanks for watching. Raynham's in. He says good morning. Simon says morning. Pegasus is in. How's my groove been? Tingly. Daniel says good morning. I heard that Putin invented calzones. He did it when he dropped his pizza. Indeed. And Boris invented the sandwich, apparently. Alex says, are you a fan of war on drugs? Not particularly. Ignatius says, morning from Antarctica. Photos or it didn't happen. Photos or it didn't happen. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, it's not a lot I can do. Maybe you should go for a walk. Maybe. And it's YouTube. I'm sure there's someone you'll like. Just not me. That's fair enough. And we'll do this all again if I can be bothered. Probably not. Anyway, thanks for watching. Ta-da. And don't forget to drink it up. I'm going to get that catchphrase working. It's going to catch on.